Well, great balls of fire, Bubba. What happened, Buford? That crazy son of a Sal blew right through that four-way stop on Main Street and plowed into my cowboy Cadillac.
Your what?
My pickup truck. And I'm pretty sure my leg is broken, Ted.
Oh, quit your bitching, Buford, and talk with those son busters at the Advocates Law Firm. When I got busted up last month, well, shoot, they made sure those snakes at the insurance company played fair.
Boy, howdy. Even that creepy so-and-so Kyle earned his keep.
So if you get injured, the advocates get results. AdvocatesLaw.com.
This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. As we continue to listen, learn, and grow, we are amplifying Black voices and perspectives in an effort to start a new COVID-19 vaccine conversation. We're sharing stories intended to help us navigate this unprecedented time together and to co-create solutions in support of the Black community. Hear these stories at weconsiderwa.org.
Hey, it's Miles. Thank you guys for listening to the Men's Room Daily Podcast.
Have you heard our newest podcast? It's called The Greatest Story Never Told.
Download it today on radio.com. Be sure to subscribe. New episodes are uploaded every Tuesday at noon.
We return to the Men's Room with Miles and Thrill. 99.9 KISW.
Louisiana fourth grader suspended from school for 6 days after a teacher spotted what turned out to be just a BB gun on his screen.
Oh, that's just a BB gun over there, teacher.
He was doing a virtual class, and now the 9-year-old's parents are suing. During a hearing last month, the school board found that the parents and the boy were guilty of displaying a firearm while receiving virtual instruction at Woodmere Elementary School. They seek at least $50,000 for mental pain, suffering, anguish, and embarrassment. And they also request that their son be able to make up the work that he had missed. He basically was taking a test in his bedroom when his brother came in and tripped over the gun, which was next to the desk. And then they were able to see that on the screen, the barrel of the gun, and that got the attention of the teacher.
I'll tell you what, the kid, so his brother tripped, the student picked up the gun and leaned it vertically against his desk so that his brother wouldn't trip anymore. The teacher sees the barrel. It's like, oh my God. It's like, dude, if school were back in session, right, and you were physically present at school, and you said, I own a BB gun and it's at home, the teachers wouldn't care.
No.
The kid is at home. He's not even playing with the BB gun. He's actually taking the effing test that you needed the kids to take. His brother tripped. He moved it. And it's suspended, man.
Yeah.
That is insane.
I knew a bunch of kids who would bring in their own slingshots.
Oh, God. Yeah,
and then at recess, they would go outside and shoot targets.
Knuckles, switchblade, the butterfly knives. I mean, you'd get on the bus and kids shoot a butterfly knife, and sure, they'd cut their fingers. They didn't know what they were doing. But the point, throwing stars when that was the thing. Right. Every weapon. When I was in Baltimore, there were guns in 20% of the freaking lockers. I mean, everyone knew. It's just, I don't know, man. But this kid, it's a BB gun, and he's at home.
Right.
He's
if you bring a BB gun to school,
sure,
given what's happened in the last 20 years,
sure,
you're going to get in trouble.
Makes sense.
He's at home. Right, he's at home.
What is the worst trouble that you got into growing up? 206-421-ROCK.
Hello, Shane. Welcome to the Men's Room.
Hola.
Hola.
So, back when I was about 16, I got in trouble for egging houses. It wasn't like a normal egging where you just do it once in a while. We were doing it for about a month, and we'd go out 3 to 4 times a week, and we're just egging all sorts of houses. And there was this one house in particular that we were egging every night when we'd gone out, and it was pretty messed up. They had a fan in the upstairs window, and we'd aim for the fan, and they would blow egg all over the inside of their house.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we were doing this for about a month, and then we finally, for some reason, we egged a state trooper's car, and then within the next day, we got a call that the detectives wanted us to come down to the station, and they had us on camera buying like cartons and cartons of eggs.
I was going to say, I mean, didn't it seem somewhat suspicious, all the eggs that you were consuming, not owning a breakfast restaurant?
Oh, yeah. We'd go to the same place every time because we were stupid, too. So,
you don't think these things through.
Oh, yeah, and we had egg all over the car that we were driving. And so what ended up happening is with the way charges work, anything over $5,000 damage, I believe, was a felony or Class C felony. So they were trying to charge us with a felony for egging houses. So, needless to say, we got in a lot of trouble. We ended up turning into a misdemeanor in the first degree, and we got probation for a year. And my parents were pissed, so...
I mean, that's about how it should work out, all things considered. It could be a felony, we'll knock it down, but your parents are going to kill you for it.
Were these random acts, or did you really have targeted homes as far as people that you didn't like?
Well, that one that I was telling you about, my buddy thought that it was this person's house that he didn't like, and it turned out that it was somebody we didn't even know. So we were just, like, tormenting this random guy.
Oh, no.
And he'd, like, chase us down the road, and, oh, man.
Yeah, well, egging a car, the problem is if you don't wash that off fairly quickly and there's a sunny day going on, man, it's the paint's gone.
But even more is if it's a police car.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, look, you were egging all these houses, which means people have called the cops 1,000 times, but because it's kids egging houses, like anybody, they don't care. But then you egged his car, and the next day, like, all right, now we're going to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Right? That was the day. If you didn't hit his car, you could still be doing it
Did
now.
it cost your parents any money?
Oh, yeah, because we had to hire an attorney, so...
Yeah, that's where
And you got to keep moving. Like we went through a phase where we egged a few places.
Sure.
One may have been a law enforcement vehicle, but we never went back to like the same part of neighborhoods or whatever. Maybe one of your buddies found out where a teacher we didn't like lived. You hit it, you wouldn't go back to that part of the neighborhood.
Right. But you know damn well, if a group of kids roll up and buy like 4 dozen eggs, they're not making a big omelet.
You know, but again, but if I work at the store, why do I care?
Yeah.
You just know damn well what's going on.
Like, all right, okay.
Yeah, if someone comes in and buys like 5 gallons of bleach, a bunch of tarps, and some duct tape, not that you want to say anything. Pretty good idea. Like, why do you need these zip ties? What the hell's going on?
Definitely not saying anything to that guy.
Again, it depends on where you live, right? So, like, we went through a phase where we egged some stuff, but I don't think anybody cared that much. I also had been at a few parties where people got guns were fired. I shouldn't say people got shot.
Did people get shot?
You know what? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I was leaving one party, and there was the guy just loading a large weapon, I'll say. And I was like...
Time to go!
That's right. And then I had another buddy that knew him and was like, hey, man, this is Pretty T I've been telling you about. And he literally puts down the bullets and the clip, and he's like, hey, man, good to meet you.
Nice to meet you,
right, we're just leaving.
Yeah, right, sorry.
Wish we could talk.
What's the worst trouble you got into growing up? 206-421-ROCK.
Wait, Pretty T?
Yes.
You were Pretty T. How long were you Pretty T?
The thing is, man, I always was good at accessorizing. So I had a Timberland watch. Like I told you, those Cinnamon Tims got a lot of respect in high school. Mm-hmm. Always tried to keep some fresh kicks around.
I got you.
So it became like a thing. And then, God, I think I was early into cologne. But again, this is the late 90s. So like and we're
Pretty T.
Yeah.
I like it. Hello, Alan. Welcome to the men's room.
Hola, bichola.
Hola.
Hey, I've been listening to you guys since, it must early 80s, or KSW at least, and I got to tell you, this goes back to 1983. I was 12 years old, and my parents, they had an old 1954 convertible that my dad had a compression start down the alley to get it running. So I'm sitting there going, okay, well, that's pretty cool. Me and my buddy sneak out of the house, and we go down the street in North Seattle, down the Green Lake area, the local dairy factory, which is no longer there. And my bright idea is I'm going to take this 18-wheeler for a spin.
An 18-wheeler?
Oh, yeah. It was a flat-nosed Freightliner. I cannot forget the look of this thing. Got up there, it was unlocked.
Did you have any idea how to drive it?
No. I just saw my dad compression starting this old car down the alley.
Okay.
Up there in Green Lake. So I get in there. My buddy bails. He runs home. And I'm going to drive the semi-truck. And I get it coasting down the parking lot there at the dairy company, looking down here at the gears and not paying much attention. And next thing I know, I hear this big boom, and I hit a truck, and I went 15 feet into the factory of this dairy company.
Oh, Jesus Christ, man.
Damn. Did you run? Did you get caught? What happened?
Oh, yeah. I got in trouble pretty good, but I went over the back of a brand new Ford pickup truck and went into this dairy factory, and I took off running. Told my buddy down the street, and apparently his buddy is a fishing friend with the guy that worked at this dairy company. So I come home from school one day, and I got my mom and dad sitting in my bedroom with a detective. I'm like, oh, crap. And I knew what happened because I had a bunch of stuff. I stole a bunch of keys and everything from the factory, too. But, yeah, I ended up landing my butt in juvie for 6 months down at Denny Youth Center in Seattle.
Okay. I was going to say, how long? Because the last caller was a year to a year and a half. This seems like you caused more damage.
Yeah, 6 months.
Yeah, yeah. No, but see, here's the thing, though, is in court, the owner, he's passed since, but the owner was there in the courtroom, too. And thank God he had mercy on me. I ended up working for him for 4 years for free.
For free?
Sweeping the floors and...
to take care of the damage that you caused the building?
Oh, no, he gave me mercy. I mean, I caused thousands of dollars in damage in this building, and the truck was destroyed, but they didn't go after my parents. But, yeah, I was sweeping floors and mopping up stuff for 4 years straight, and still working every day since. I'm 12 years old from then on. I'm now 49, still working my butt off.
Trying to still pay for that dairy.
I know,
drove through.
But really, it taught me a work ethic. And so I'm kind of thankful that I did a stupid thing. And
yeah. Hey, look, man, you learn from everything, one way or another. Hopefully you learn for the better. Hopefully you learn for the better. That's the idea. And that's why people get pissed off, is because you know better.
Well, that was always my father's thing. You know, so my mother's the one who'd fly off the handle. That's the one I dealt with most of the time. And when I dealt with my father, he's very matter of fact about how things are going to be. I'm hoping that I have that same effect today. But his point was like, look, I let everything slide the first time because you didn't know. But his thing was always, now we've had this conversation, and I'm going to ask you, and he'd always tell me, think about this before you answer, because sometimes you're stupid. Do you understand the words coming out of my mouth? And he said, don't answer yet. Because if you say yes, and you do this S again, he's like, that's the end of you. That is you will see no future. There are no more days. It's like, so if you're going to say yes, make sure it doesn't happen again. And it was just understood. Yes. And truth to it, man, I did a lot of bad things as a kid. 'Cause I'm a kid.
You just didn't repeat the same one twice.
You never did the same one twice, and it was understood. And I remember one of the advantages of being a younger brother, my brother was a very good kid. Very, very good kid. But, you know, like any kid, he's still effed up every now and again. I don't remember what he had done, but he decided he wanted to stand up to my dad. So I'm sitting in my room. My father's like berating my brother about whatever. And my brother's in his room, but the door's open. And I hear my brother say something, you know, obviously he's thumping his chest a little bit. And then there's dead silence for a second. Then I hear his bedroom door close. And not slam, just close very gently. And now through the wall, you just hear that muffled conversation. Now I don't hear my brother. I just hear my father. And he's not yelling. And to this day, I do not know what he said to my brother. But and door opens, my father walks out, and he's whistling. And when my father's whistling, he's in a good mood. It's what he does subconsciously when he's in a good mood. So he walks out whistling. I'm like, oh, it couldn't have been that bad. So I peek into my brother. He's just at the foot of the bed, just weeping. Not like crying, like whatever my father said scared him to the point, like he's on the bed shaking and crying, and my father's in a good mood. And I'm like, mental note, man. Don't F with this dude, man, because there was something, because it's one thing, if you're screaming and yelling, it's like, all right, you're mad. But the fact that it was so subdued, and my brother, honestly, it looked like he just saw The Exorcist. Like he saw a little girl's head spin around and she said something awful. I mean, I was like, oh my God, I hope in my life I never feel the way you look.
I always just use coach speak. It's only a mistake if you don't learn from it.
Oh, look at you.
Right? Yeah. So the first time you do it, fine. But son, you keep making that same mistake, you're going to have a seat on the bench.
As a parent, Ted, I will tell you get to that, but typically that's at the end of your speech. Because like there's some mess you need to hear right now, and now as you've calmed yourself down, and we've discussed this, now you try to do that calm thing. So, in closing, if you don't learn from this, right, but it does not start there.
Yeah. I mean, and that goes through your whole life. I mean, you never stop learning. So, you know, I mean, you're obviously not going to punish yourself. You feel bad if you messed up. But ultimately, you're probably not going to do that twice.
Well, it depends on the severity. Like, you know, do not come home drunk again. Well, it happens. You know, but once you understand, can I deal with the repercussions of this? Sadly, once you answer yes, you're probably going to make it a habit.
I'm going to get laid anyway.
Where we're going to have sex? Yeah, whatever.
Right. So, yeah, you're right. There is some mistakes you will make over and over.
Right. You're going to get in trouble the same way. It's going to be the same crap. And you know it in advance. You've just determined, like, you know what? If the joy or fun of your action outweighs the consequence, then people tend to do it more than once.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like our boss would be like, hey, man, we've been working together a long time. Why do I have to keep telling you blank? And it's like, honestly, because this is as bad as it's gotten. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because I know your response based on certain things. So, like, yeah, I know I shouldn't have, and we both know that I knew I shouldn't have, and then I did, but I hedged my bets that you'd be about as angry as you are now, and it's not comfortable, but I can live with this.
Right.
I can live with your anger. We're all good.
Yeah, I thought about doing the whole show today as like a big announcer guy.
Yeah, right.
Isn't that right? AC/DC. What's the worst trouble you got into growing up? 206-421 Rock, brand new world premiere tip on the way.
Hey, what's the worst going to happen?
Oh, don't sound announcer-ish.
Hello, Ryan. Welcome to the men's room.
Hola, bitch, hola.
Hola.
Yeah, I got in some trouble. It was kind of a funny deal for cleaning my aunt's house. It's kind of an interesting thing to get in trouble for. It was like an ultimatum between me and the other side of my family, basically the rest of them. and then I decided, I'm gonna decide I'm gonna clean up this pack-ratted house. My grandfather was in the Korean War, bought that house, passed it to my grandmother. My grandmother, like, passed it down to my aunt in some sketchy way around, like, 1990. And then it was, like, 99. I was, like, 19 years old. It was a decision that you just have to make. Ultimately, you just decide.
What was the decision?
Hello?
What was your decision
that you made?
Well, I just had to clean. I decided she pack-ratted the house so terribly, and it was just nasty. There was like a rodent poops in the kitchen.
So
I had to climb over some garbage bags.
So what are you saying? You cleaned the house, like got rid of everything, kind of thing?
Well, yeah, it was kind of a funny thing. I made like a neighborhood scene about it. Like I started piling up a big pile of garbage in the front yard, and then a pile in the backyard. And she had this old Ford Ranger sitting in the front yard parking spot, and then I filled up the back of her truck with garbage bags and garbage and stuff. And then there was still more pack-ratted stuff, but I had like cleared out the kitchen area and the hallway that went from the front to the back of the house.
Now, did you steal something? What was the leak? Like, how did you get in trouble?
This thing is the cops thought it was kind of funny. My family is kind of sketchy from Kansas, this town, Salina, Kansas. If you ever go there, I recommend just like if you have to stop and get gas, just keep going.
So what did you get in trouble? What did you get in trouble for?
Basically, they told me, or they gave me the charges of trespassing. But at first, they had a burglary. But the cop was like, or whatever. Like when I first went to court, they were like, "This is definitely not this burglary charge, but we're just holding you until whenever."
Did your aunt call the cops on you for doing this?
Yeah, so it was my aunt's daughter, my cousin, her husband showed up to the property, and I had the doors propped open, and I was just starting to actually get the kitchen cleaned out, actually, and I had replaced some bulbs and went around and stuff like that.
All right.
And then all of a sudden he shows up. He kind of like yells at me, trying to scare me off the property because they're just, I don't know, my family, I had to break it off with them. They're just kind of scary. And then
wait, do you talk to them now?
To like make it look like I was there for a bad reason by scaring me off. So I walked around the front of the house and stood outside and waited for the police. I knew they were coming. And then he tried to play it off like he didn't know me. He wasn't sure. And then he did know me. And then the cops were like,
I don't know what happened.
What was the...
So hang on. You got to know. Little backstory is earlier. I was doing something and Mike and I are in the studio and I just hear Mike going, "Hey, why did you get in trouble?"
Is that the guy?
So that's when Mike and I started laughing like, well, we've been through this already.
So you just put him on to torture us.
Put him on anyway.
That's basically...
That's exactly right, because I just want you guys to know what I go through for you guys every day.
And Mike coached him up.
I did. I thought I was directing him like, hey, get right to why you got in trouble with the matter.
Yes, why'd you get in trouble? Look, you tell us why you got in trouble. We'll have questions. We would have gotten to I'm family sketchy, all that.
I need to erase my brain. Let's take a quick break, Mike.
I'm still not sure what he got in trouble for.
I don't know either.
I mean, what I got was he's cleaning up the house. His cousin's husband, who did not like him, decided to call the cops and pretended that he didn't know who he was.
Trespassing charges.
Right, but I still feel like by the time you get to court, you're like, yeah, it's my cousin's goddamn husband. He doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know.
What's the worst thing or the worst trouble that you got into growing up? 206-421-ROCK.
Bro, gnarly. What's up, Taylor? Dude, that nerd in his electric hybrid totally blew the light while texting his yuppie friends.
That's so bogus, bro. Are you hurt?
Yeah, like I can't move my hips, bro. I think I broke my pelvis, man. Dude, no way.
Taylor, you need to drop a dime and talk with the lawyers at the Advocates Law Firm.
No way, can't afford that, bro.
Your crotch is broken, man, and they don't earn any money unless they win your case.
Dude, no way.
You get injured, the advocates get results. Contact them today at advocateslaw.com.
This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. As we continue to listen, learn, and grow, we are amplifying Black voices and perspectives in an effort to start a new COVID-19 vaccine conversation. We're sharing stories intended to help us navigate this unprecedented time together and to co-create solutions in support of the Black community. Hear these stories at weconsiderwa.org.
The men's room is in progress. 99.9 KISW and KISW HD1 Seattle.
Coming up on the program, we talked about it a little bit yesterday. We actually got the audio. Van Halen live in the KISW studios in 1980. And we do have the audio. We're going to play it for you at 5:30 coming up with TV Time with Ted. So that's on the way. Our question, what is the worst trouble that you got into growing up? 206-421-ROCK.
Mike, just so you know, people are not happy with you right now. Hey, look.
I don't know why.
You screened the call, and you decided that guy annoyed you so much that you wanted to pass that misery forward.
Oh, that's why.
Not just to me and Miles, but to everyone listening. Yeah, people, I won't say that people disliked him personally. They do not prefer how he chooses to tell the story. I'll leave it at that. People have some very colorful language for that guy. Very, very colorful.
Well, I'm glad I could bring that out of them.
Yeah, right. Hello, Nick. Welcome to the men's room.
Hola.
Hola.
I'll keep this one concise since the last guy set the bar so low.
See what I'm saying, Mike?
Yeah, so long story short, me and my buddy got into the habit of shoplifting at Best Buy anytime we wanted a video game.
Ooh, y'all just say
we kept hitting the same one over and over. Eventually, we got caught and arrested.
Ooh, how now? Were they, when they arrested you at the time, were they aware of all of your previous thefts?
Yeah, they were, and they were also pretty mad because apparently the plastic that we were flushing down the toilets was destroying their pipes.
Oh, so you were taking them into the bathroom and destroying them in there.
And just taking the discs. But the real cherry on top from that is not just that we got arrested that day, but the very next day, we were trying to blow off some steam, decided to ditch school like we did all the time. Ended up at my buddy's place with a giant bottle of tequila between three teenagers. Well, his mom was upstairs listening to us the entire time.
Oh, God.
And someone told the school about it. So I was arrested and suspended from school within 24 hours of each other.
Yeah.
What made you think after getting arrested it'd be a good idea the next day to then skip school? See, if I got arrested, I'd be on the straight and narrow for a little while.
See, I don't know, man. And look, I wasn't a good kid, but I feel you. If you got annoyed, like, F school, even if school had nothing to do with it.
Well, I'll tell you this, the suspension definitely worked. I think I just needed a bigger kick than you probably would have to pull me out of that because I never ended up stealing or ditching school again.
Really, man? Because I did both of those things again. But like Miles said, I learned from my mistakes, so it's how to cover your tracks better. It wasn't, hey, I'm going to be a good kid. It's that, as far as you know, I'm a good kid. Tons of skeletons in the closet. Just find a better way to do it. Like, ooh, don't flush the plastic down.
Yeah.
But look, I will say this, and I'm not encouraging anyone to shoplift, but I can understand the allure at Best Buy. Last time I was at Best Buy, as an adult, I was in there in January, man. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, if I could find a way to get that TV out of here, and there's no way, I would. And it was right after Christmas, man, so they had a couple of, like, TVs and boxes by the front door, like last year's model, whatever, didn't sell. There was only like 3 or 4 of them, but I'm like, That's an awfully nice TV.
See, I always go like,
and I
ooh.
can't help but think about it, but I'm like, there's security everywhere, and not just that, you're a 51-year-old man and probably shouldn't be doing this, but deep down...
And you got to run holding it.
Look, if I thought I could make it, if I thought I could sprint toward the door, snag that big-ass box with the TV, I'd have been gone.
See, I'm in Best Buy. I'm like looking at stuff that I need. My TV's fine. I'm always like, man, that is a really nice dishwasher. Look at that thing. Look at
all the stuff.
Look at all those buttons.
That's where we saw.
Buttons.
That's what inspired us to get the air fryer. So we were buying a TV. We didn't get it day of. We had to wait like 2 days. But as we're leaving, they have all that kitchen stuff, right? So I stopped and we started staring at the air fryer. Like, we were just staring at it. We're not saying anything, but I want to say it showed up in the house that Monday. So we went to Best Buy on Thursday. That Monday, we ended up with the... But again, if I could have stolen it. Mm-hmm. The only thing I ever repeatedly stole from a store was porn magazines back in the day when if you went to the magazine section of any store, porn was just put on top. That way it's eye level with kids. But, yeah, it was just sitting up top. So we'd get the Sunday paper, and we would pull out, like, all the comics and all the crap they used to stuff it with. It was a big, fat paper. And we'd fill it full of porn magazines. And it cost, I think, $1.50 for the Baltimore Sun. This is the Rite Aid around the corner from our house. And we would each go and steal like 5 or 6 magazines. That said, it's not that we were masturbating all the time. We were teens, so we were doing that most of the time. But I was stealing them, and this is where I got a lot of trouble. I was stealing them because then I would resell them in high school. Now, like, some kids sell drugs, some kids sell guns. I'm selling porn because this is pre-computer. So if you wanted to see porn, you had to have the magazine. To get your hands on the magazine, depending on how your parents were. Some guys were lucky, and dad was cool with porn, so you go into a stash. But most kids, that wasn't the case. Or their father hid the porn really, really well. But either way, I would break Swank, Hustler, I mean, you name it, I could get it, right? And I wouldn't tell anyone how we were getting them. It was just I would show up in high school, and in my bag, in addition to my notebook, be like 10 magazines. And they would kind of pass around the classes, and dudes would put in orders, and I'd just charge cover price. And people would bitch, and I'm like, look, if you want to save money, get it yourself. But my big moment was Vanity, who was in the movie, what is it, Purple Rain with Prince, right?
She was also a musician.
The hottest thing on earth at the time, but she was going to pose for Playboy.
And she also, didn't Nikki Sixx date her as well?
Yes. And word got out that Vanity's going to be like, I don't know, in the Playboy 2 months from now or something. So I'm getting pre-orders for this, okay? People knew that I was the guy, me and one other guy I worked with, that we were the guys that could get the porn. So I have all these names written down because I got to know how many I need, who they go to, keep one for myself. Sunday comes, my buddy and I, we go in, and we absolutely just rock this place of all the Playboys. We're feeling good, because this is our cash flow. Going through, like, God, looking back, it's so stupid. This is our I'm like, what was I doing? But this was our cash flow through high school. But there was a trunk in my room, and the only thing in this trunk had to be 85 porn magazines, and then on top, a piece of paper that had names, prices, who ordered what, right? So it'd say, like, Ted, Playboy, whatever, right? And I'd write down how much you owe me. No big deal. I'm getting away with this for about a year and a half, and I remember coming home from school, and my mother's in my bedroom, the trunk is open, and she is just mean-mugging me, standing next to the trunk looking at it. So I know what time it is, man, and you could, like, feel the temperature drop. Like, the windows are getting frosty. She is that mad. The thing about it was, moms are never that excited that their son's looking at porn, although moms, if you have a son, they're looking at porn, just letting you know. But beyond that, her problem, she was like, what is this sheet of paper? That was the sticking point. I'm like, what sheet of paper? She's like, this is so-and-so's name. This is the name of a magazine. And then there's a dollar amount. And I'm like, I'm selling porn. She's, what? I'm like, we've been selling porn.
Give me an allowance.
Well,
it's called a ledger, Mom.
I don't bug you for money. Basically, that's what it was, all right? So she failed to see my accounting skills, and instead I had to throw all the magazines out. Mom, if you're listening, we both know goddamn well I did not throw those magazines out. They went down to Kevin Anderson's house, man. Porn was like gold when you're a teenager, but I just couldn't keep them in the house. But, like, she was pissed for months about that.
It's a side hustle.
It was a side hustle, and to me, it seemed harmless, but it made it worse. One, that I'm selling them, but also, how are you getting these? We're stealing them. What? When Dad tells me to get the Sunday paper, she's like, I'm like, I stuff them in there. Nothing good.
Your Dad's like, why don't you leave one in there for me?
So she told him, and it's such a different conversation. Like, my mom freaked out, went off the handle. I'm in deep trouble. She's yelling, all the stuff, and I get it. Dad, obviously, he gets info about what happened, so he rolls into the bedroom. Hey, dummy, don't do that anymore. End of conversation.
Yeah.
Like, right on.
What is the worst trouble you got into growing up? 206-421-ROCK.
Hello, Ryan. Welcome to the men's room.
Liquor and whores.
Liquor and whores.
Man, I didn't realize how long it would take to get on here.
Surprise.
Hello?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm in high school, 16 years old. Just got my license. Had a big lifted Chevy 12-inch lift, 40-inch tires. We're, me and my buddies are all crammed up in the front of the truck, and we're getting ready to go have a party out at the river. We go down to Safeway and go behind and load the back of the truck up with a bunch of pallets for a bonfire. And we're pulling out. We had a couple cases up in the cab of the truck, and we're pulling out, and we pull right past the Snohomish County Sheriff that's sitting behind Safeway. And so he pulls out right behind me, didn't even let us get out of the parking lot, and he turns on his lights, and he comes up and says, "What are you doing?" We're just going to go have a fire down at the river. Well, they found out that we stole the pallets from Safeway, so and they had all of us get out of the truck. Nobody had seatbelts on. And they seen the beer, so then they called all our parents, come get us, pick up my truck, and we had to then pour out every beer down the storm drain, and
See, I'm a different kind of parent with that. It'd be like, look, man, my two problems with your scenario, from a parental point of view, put on your goddamn seatbelt. That's one. If nothing else, do that. Do not steal pallets from Safeway, although chances are I've stolen pallets from Safeway. So, but more of the seatbelts. But the beer, I expect my kids to drink underage because that's what kids do, but we're not pouring this out. But you can watch me drink your beer over the course of the next week.
That's don't waste the beer.
Right.
Give the
That's
beer to the
thing.
cop. You know what I mean? Like, it's something else.
Like, look, I'm going to drink your beer. We're not going to throw away good beer. I'm not that mad at you. But, like, you can't drive your car for a while. If you're not going to put on a seatbelt, you're not going to get in the goddamn car. But I'm drinking your beer.
I'm taking that in as evidence. You know what I mean? If I'm a cop, I don't know what the statute, I don't know what I'm allowed to do or what. But, like, you're underage. You're not supposed to be in possession of that. Give me that beer.
I think sometimes, yeah.
I'll serve it at the.
I think it's
police
tougher
Christmas
for the cops.
party. You know what I mean?
But also, I think, well, just because like you'd have to pop your trunk and unload cases of beer. But also, I'm with you as if I was a parent, I'd drink it every day of the week.
That's what I mean.
It's already here.
Just watch me drink it.
I mean, I had a buddy that got caught. Right, so I was a senior class president. So I had a buddy that was a junior, and he got caught at prom with liquor. Right, which, to be honest, wasn't a super search. He was an idiot about it. So then I have kind of a relationship with the principal. He gets suspended for a week. So I said, don't worry. I'm going to go talk to the principal. So I go in there.
Pretty T is on.
Right? I said, hey, like blah, blah, blah. It's a whole group of them. And the principal at the time is like, all right, yeah, whatever, man. We'll give him 2 days instead of 5. What are you guys doing mixing lemonade with whiskey? And then he sat there and like chewed me out and was like, you guys, I mean, like, you're bad mixers.
Like, what's wrong with you?
But he seemed legit annoyed.
What's the worst trouble that you got into growing up? 206-421-ROCK.
First of all, I have been corrected, says Thrill. Apollonia was in Purple Rain. Vanity was in that cinematic classic, Action Jackson. Get it right, bro. By the way,
both of those were artists signed to Prince's label.
That is correct. And if you haven't seen Action Jackson, you haven't missed anything. Watch it for one reason. It stars Carl Weathers, and it's Craig T. Nelson's the bad guy. And it's just, in a movie where the good guy is taking on the bad guy, at the end of the movie, you say something clever before you kill them, right? And it can be Die Hard, Terminator, you name it. So in this particular movie, this is my favorite line ever. Carl Weathers, he finally has Craig T. Nelson where he wants him, and Carl Weathers is armed with a flamethrower, all right? And Craig T. Nelson, he's kind of on his last legs, and he says whatever he's got to say, and Carl Weathers ends it with, I got one last question for you. How do you like your ribs? He cooks his ass.
What's the worst trouble you got into growing up? 206-421-ROCK.
It doesn't get better than that.
How do you like your ribs?
How do you like your ribs? Hello, Jess. Welcome to the men's room.
Hola.
Hola.
So, Thrill, I got to tell you, your porn hustle thing, that made me laugh so hard I was in tears. Like, that was that's epic.
Hey, man,
I
look,
digress.
you can sell you can sell a lot of things. I truly feel like what I was selling was the most harmless of the bunch.
Very true.
Thank you.
On that note, so my the trouble that I got into, the worst trouble I got into. So I was in high school. I want to say I was like 15, and this was before weed was legal. I'm 35 now, but so I had a weed dealer, and he had sold me, like, I want to say it was like an eighth or something like that. And there was a couple of seeds, and I was like, oh, and I read up on how to germinate them, and so I did, and they sprouted, and I'm like, oh, cool. So I went down and I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And so I went and got, like, those red lights for, like, lizards and stuff like that.
Yeah, basically a heat lamp.
Yeah, a heat lamp. So I went and got one of those, and I had it in my bedroom closet. And this thing actually started to grow, and it started to look like a pot plant. I was like, so excited. And so I came home from school, and this was like 3 months after the fact. This thing was probably like 2 feet tall. And again, I have no experience with like gardening or horticulture, whatever it's called, any of that stuff. And so I come home, and my mom was still at work, but I had left for school, and she left for work after I had gone to school. I come home, there's this really angry letter. I walk in the front door, and there's the angry letter. And then I look in the garbage disposal. She took my plant and put it in the garbage disposal and grinded it all up. So there's like leaves and dirt and all this stuff everywhere. And I'm just like, no. And then I'm like, I had to wait for her to come home. And it was like kind of like what you were saying with your mom about like you could just feel the temperature shock.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. I mean, like, I was so scared. And she basically in the note, she said, if this happens again, you're out of here. And I was on pins and needles. And then now, here we are. Now it's legal and everything.
I can't believe she didn't smell it as it was growing in there, because that stuff typically just starts reeking up the house.
That's probably about the point.
Well, I used to, when I was still, at the same time, while I was even growing this little tiny plant that I had, I would take a toilet paper tube with some dryer sheets and I would smoke out my window and blow it to the dryer sheets.
Yeah.
It worked. I mean, I'm sure she knew, but she never confronted me. But then when she saw the plant, it was like evident that.
But see, again, as a parent, it would be, if it's illegal, the challenge would be, do you think our son is going to ask us where his pot plant went? Because I'm going to cultivate this bad boy, but it's up to him to, Dad, have you, what are you looking for, boy?
Have you ever tried to grow again since that point in time?
I actually, I probably shouldn't say this because a lot of the people that I work with listen to the show.
Well, it's legal.
Then you just answered.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was going to say, because
fair enough. Actually, I do have some seeds. I mean, I'm not consuming for that matter, but I do have some seeds that are sprouted right now, and
also you're sprouting right at this very moment.
Yes.
Okay, because I will say this: it's very rare that you find seeds and things like that in weed these days. It's kind of like finding a pearl in an oyster. It's rare. So when I do find
I have
them,
a buddy that he grows, and so like every now and again he'll like just toss me some seeds, like, hey, see what you can do with these or whatever.
I've got a bag.
I'm just seeing what happens.
I've got a bag with like 4 seeds in it that I've collected for probably like 3 or 4 years,
and you're just waiting to plant them.
That's all I've got. Like, in all that time, and trust me, I've been through some weed. I have 4 seeds. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with it. Maybe I'll plant it beside my tomato bush or something like that.
Well, back in the day, there are always seeds in your weed, and I had a friend who, we both smoked. I don't know if his wife knew he smoked or whatever the deal was. She wasn't particularly bitter about it, but I don't think she was a big fan. But anyway, we would always get the crap weed. He'd get all the seeds. And this is in Maryland. And even though I think it might be legal now, I don't know. It's real frowny.
Medical's legal. They still haven't really started the whole process behind it.
Okay.
They've been working on this.
No, they have.
Do they?
Yeah. I know a couple people have their medical cards.
Oh, okay. Well, at the time, man, just trust me, the East Coast, the way they treat weed, you would think that, I don't know, that you're running a traffic ring for children or something. I mean, it was just super frowned upon, but you'd get your weed, and he would just take these seeds, and he'd always just throw them in his backyard. But you got to understand, there's no grass in his backyard. It's a typical Baltimore cement backyard, but there's a few cracks in the cement. And he calls me one day, and he goes, hey, man, like, I have kind of a problem. He's like, my weed is growing. I'm like, I don't know you're growing weed. He's like, that's the point. I didn't either. But it's like every time we throw these seeds out back, they started growing. Like, they took hold of the soil, and they're growing through the cracks in my backyard. And he's like, the problem is, in Baltimore, every house is next to each other. I mean, it's a row home, right? So You have people on either side of your wall. You can look directly into people's backyards. And again, Maryland, particularly at this time, weed is a bad, horrible, it's going to kill the world thing. And he's like, I have weed growing all over my backyard. And I'm like, but you got to keep it. And it's like, man, I don't want to. And he's a white collar dude, right? You know what I mean? He's kind of working this techie job thing. And I'm like, bro, you have to keep this. You have to keep this. He's like, what if I get arrested? I'm like, I don't want to sound like that's your problem, but it is. I understand.
I don't know how it got there.
But you got to keep growing. But I said, my money says your neighbors can't identify what that plant is. And sure enough, he grew it, man, and he ended up with some decent weed. I don't know if he's still growing it, but it just grew in the cracks of the cement in his backyard. It's the most ghetto-looking operation, but some decent weed.
And I think it's less fun now, though, too. Especially when you live in a state where it's legal. You just go to the store.
Yeah, we would just buy it now.
Remember, years ago, I know a lot of people that were, like Miles, you knew them, that were making beer at home.
Right.
Yeah. But now you can, most states, you just go to any corner store, buy whatever frickin' beer you want. There's
Even if you're making beer at home, you're like, yeah, so what? Like, things are a lot more fun when you think you're getting away with something.
Yeah. Even growing tomatoes. I mean, hell, I put those in May. They're finally just coming around right now. Like, I water them a few times a week, take care of them, everything. Like, all that work. Maybe I get like a handful of tomatoes out of the
But you're going to grow weed.
What I'm saying is
tomatoes.
Yeah, right. I mean, that would be a better thing if it actually turned out to grow weed instead of these dumbass tomatoes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends. Because, I have some friends that have full gardens.
Yeah.
So they make some very delicious things, but...
I would rather have weed.
I don't know, for my taste. I'm like, I'll go to the store and buy a steak. I didn't hunt it.
Right. What's the worst trouble that you got into growing up? 206-421-ROCK.
Hello, Bill. Welcome to the men's room.
Hey, what's up?
Hola.
Hola. Okay, so growing up in Port Orchard, across the sound from you guys in the 80s, I was in the 8th grade, and there was this group of 5 or 6, just scummy kids who used to pick on my kid brother who was in the 7th grade at the time. I was in the 9th grade. And one day I'm at home after school, and he's walking his girlfriend home, and one of our friends comes running down to our house and says that these kids are picking on my brother again. So I'm 8th grade. I'm not thinking straight, but I had this 11-inch marble-handled Italian switchblade.
Hey, it's a switchblade.
My dad bought when he was in the Navy in the 60s. And I had snuck out of his toolbox and had spent probably a couple years restoring, getting the rust off and oiling it and sharpening it. And this thing was beautiful. And my teenage brain that thought, go save your brother, grabbed that blade and ran down the street to go see what was going on. When I opened it, all of their faces sunk. And I got my brother out of there and we got home. I'm thinking things are going to be okay, right? So 2 days later... this was a Friday, so 2 days later would have been Monday. One of the kids confronted me getting right off the bus, and we got into a fight, and I kind of beat the living hell out of him that day. So when he wasn't able to bully my brother or me, he went to his parents, and his parents went to the cops. And I'll be honest, I did not get in nearly as much trouble as I probably should have for doing this. But because when the cops took the evidence, and apparently my parents gave them the switchblade, which now I know I would never do that to my kids. That's just asking for them to go to prison. The prosecuting attorney looked at the record of the kid who I got in the fight with, looked at my record, and asked who had the switchblade. And I never saw any punishment from the law over that. However, I went through about a week of meeting with my parents, meeting with the vice principal, meeting with the principal. Everybody explained to me that, yes, you felt he was in danger. Yes, you wanted to defend him, but next time grab a baseball bat, that type of thing. And it just kind of held over my head for the entire school year, and this would have been October of the school year. So I probably should have gotten more trouble than what I did for what happened. But, yeah, those kids also never messed with my brother and I ever again.
Do you still have the knife?
No, my parents gave it to the stupid police, and I've never seen it. It was gorgeous. It was gorgeous, guys. Yeah. I loved this thing. And, dude, when it opened that day, it echoed. The snap echoed.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn, man.
I'm here for my brother.
Deep down, your father's proud.
Yep.
Yeah, right. Nobody can admit it, but right.
You
went through the interview for a week with your parents, the administration. You got through it
because you defended your brother. Yeah.
You are listening to the Men's Room.
This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. As we continue to listen, learn, and grow, we are amplifying Black voices and perspectives in an effort to start a new COVID-19 vaccine conversation. We're sharing stories intended to help us navigate this unprecedented time together and to co-create solutions in support of the Black community. Hear these stories at weconsiderwa.org.